I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Getting to the point, but taking the scenic route to get there. This is the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome in. 100.7 The Score. I'm Rob Bro alongside Josh Foppel, Clint Scott behind the glass. How are you boys today? Men. Gentlemen.
We're good.
Talking football today. By the way, Red Ritter Recon going well. This is the brain trust behind it.
Heck yeah.
The three of us. Mostly Clint.
I'm just there to argue.
The defensive coordinator went out on Thursday talking about Shield Wood. Maybe we do a little Shield Wood talk today in the first hour. And then we'll talk front seven, back five, secondary.
That's what they're called.
We'll go front, back defense in the next weeks, and then we'll do special teams at some point. And then we'll get into what I'm excited about is looking at the opponents.
When you said it so choppy, for some reason I heard front seven for the first time as like a bar and grill, and then back five sounds like a really crappy one-off boy band that had like one semi-hit.
Them in O-Town went on tour last week. There was an LFO trivia question today that I got right.
What was it?
I was like, Chinese food makes me sick with lyrics in this band's 1998 release or something.
Nice.
LFO. Anyways, we'll talk other things today. We've got FIBA World Cup action to discuss. Big 12 win totals have been out all summer, but more officially out now. There was a PFF power rankings that went out today. I've checked on it twice, and the numbers have changed both times. The actual percentages. And I'm going to just say this. It seems wrong.
Okay.
Texas Tech 53rd in the country in this PFF algorithm. And 9th and then 7th in the Big 12. But it was basically 9th because you were tied for 7th. But you dig into the numbers and they have the third highest average win total, according to PFF. So we're not going to talk about that anymore because it doesn't make any sense.
Right, yeah.
It makes zero sense. Sometimes you work on a spreadsheet for a long time. You know this, Josh.
Yes.
And you plug in all these numbers, and at the end, you're like, none of these make sense. These totals did not go together right. So I think their algorithm is a little busted. We'll see if in an hour or two I look back at it and they've corrected even more. So we'll see what happens there.
A third time different numbers.
But it doesn't make sense for Texas Tech to have the third highest average win total, a poor strength of schedule, unless that really falls into it. But like Arizona has a better percentage to win the Big 12 than Texas Tech does in PFF's power rankings. And that does not compute to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to make this make sense in my head, and it's
even if Texas Tech was like 5th behind, Iowa State, Kansas State, Baylor, Utah, Arizona State, like if there were 6 behind those 5, I'd be like, oh well, okay, that
because that tracks.
I'm sure
that lines up
yeah.
to like average or to the
yeah.
ranking, but
like Arizona and BYU were still in front of them, and BYU with. And I guess they haven't factored in quarterback changes. But I also just don't know what algorithm PFF is based. Is it off the PFF rankings and returners? Because if it is...
Well, PFF has got to probably rank stuff based off of their own...
Right, and they're proprietary.
Yeah.
And again, I always say this is just some guy in a basement ranking players and what they think they should be doing and what they're doing. But like Tech has some pretty good PFF guys on the team, so I don't know. We'll check back in on those eventually today. We also have headlines in the next segment. But the big news this weekend probably would have been Christain Anderson and Grant McCasland and Team USA versus Team Germany for the FIBA World Cup.
Oh ho ho, but not.
But instead, it was Felix Ojo choosing to be a Red Raider. 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks, you've gone from 42nd in the country, according to On3's industry standard rankings, team 2026 class. It's venture a guess at how high they've jumped.
What was it, 40? You said 42? Or
42nd.
42nd.
In just, I think, 5 commits in the last 2 weeks. 4 or 5.
So for it to be making a big deal out of it, it's got to be more than 5, probably. I'm not going to go probably more than 10. Say 8. We're going to go. So what's that maths? 35th.
22nd.
Huh.
22nd in the country. They were 6th or 7th in the Big 12 2 weeks ago. They're first in the Big 12 now by a margin. They've added Savorian Martin, who's at least a 4-star on one publication, cornerback.
Yeah.
Then they added Donovan Webb, 4-star safety, one of the top in the state of Texas.
Ooh.
Then they added New Boston's Ace Rowden, running back, 4-star.
How about
That's
it?
3 4-stars.
Yep.
And then, by the way, let's add the number 1 tackle, offensive tackle in the state of Texas, the number 3 recruit offensive tackle in the nation, number 1 period in the state of Texas, 5-star Felix Ojo out of Mansfield Legacy.
You know what was interesting with that? Well, of many things, but I know Utah and BYU, obviously rivals, obviously talk a lot of smack between that. I saw 2 different Utah pages sharing that Tech was the number 1 class right now over BYU as like a ha-ha, take that BYU. And it's like, what an odd thing when you're still behind BYU as of now in the recruiting rankings. They make no sense as a fan base.
BYU put out a post. I saw this. BYU put out a post. They were ranked 1 in the Big 12. They're not anymore, but they weren't last week either because Kansas was number 1. So I wonder if they also were ragging them for Kansas being ahead. I don't know.
If it's not going to be you that passes them, I don't think you should be bragging.
That makes 0 sense to me. But Utah makes 0 sense to me as a fan base.
Yes.
Just
Agreed.
generally. But that's some pretty hot recruiting. And, of course, all the Blue Bloods upset, especially Texas over the weekend because...
Did he do the hat switcheroo?
He did the switcheroo. Yeah. So Felix Ojo had a top 4.
Okay.
And Texas Tech was not in it. And there was some steam late from Texas Tech. People were reporting a $5 million, $6 million NIL deal on the table. He did not have Texas Tech. He didn't add them to the top 5. He just kept the top 4 how it was. Grabbed the Texas hat. Said, never mind. Reached under the table for a double T hat. Put it on, took the jacket off. It was a Texas Tech t-shirt. It's a little switcheroo there from Felix Ojo. We might discuss the money.
Okay.
Probably not the first hour, Josh, but eventually today. Because there are a lot of reports of a lot of different things with Felix Ojo's money. And maybe a 3-year contract and otherwise. So we'll talk through that at some point today. Up next, headlines, 100.7 The Score. It's The Bottom Line.
Getting to the point, but taking the scenic route to get there. This is the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back. 100.7 The Score. It's The Bottom Line. And Rob Bro, Josh Falpo, Clint Scott on the airwaves today. We've got the chat line to catch up on, but first, I want to go rapid fire.
Oh, no.
Circa Sports, Big 12 win totals.
Okay.
We're going to start at the bottom. We're going to do 3 options because not all of them are halves. You can go over, under, push.
Okay.
If it's a whole number, you can push.
Okay.
Otherwise, I want to over, under. We'll start at the bottom. The worst team, apparently, in the Big 12 is West Virginia. 5 wins, over, under, push.
That's where I would have put them. So I guess I'll go. I'll do over, under. I want to try to not push these.
Okay.
So
there's only 4 push options.
I'll do over. I thought it would be 5, but just because it's at 5, we'll do over.
Yeah, push.
I'll take the over. I think I like Rich Rod. UCF 5.5. 5.5 for UCF.
I like Rich Rod. I hate their quarterback situation.
Well, yes.
I don't.
Sure.
I like Rich Rod was strong.
Yeah.
I'm fine with Rich Rod.
Yeah, Mark Hill's not great, and I really don't know what they have behind him.
I just know if he's their starter, I don't have a lot of faith with what's behind him.
5.5?
UCF 5.5.
Under.
Undertaker. Oklahoma State 5.5.
Over. I think they'll figure something out.
Yeah, over.
Under.
I think they'll be barely a bowl team. That one's already the toughest one to me because I'm 5 or 6 wins.
I just feel like the top half of the Big 12 is going to beat up the bottom half of the Big 12. Hopefully.
Well, and something that's not going to help Oklahoma State is, speaking of the non-con, right? Like they have a game against Oregon.
Yeah.
So counting that one as a loss, so you're a little bit behind the 8 ball.
Arizona 5.5.
I'll go over. Yeah, over. Sure.
Under.
Colorado 6 flat. Cincinnati 6 flat.
Over for. Yeah, over for both. Colorado, I'll do under.
Okay. Colorado under, Cincinnati over.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry. So we're doing both.
Flat 6s, Colorado, Cincinnati.
Push Colorado over Cincinnati.
I'll. You know what? I'm going to push both.
I have to stick with what I picked since that's one of the teams I've already picked, Cincinnati.
There are 3 6.5s. TCU, Houston,
Okay.
and BYU. TCU, Houston, BYU. Your thoughts?
TCU over, BYU over, and I think Houston is going to have lost more in their defense just because loss of shoe would.
Yeah.
Under.
Houston and BYU under, TCU over.
I'm going Houston under, TCU over. I think I'm gonna be with Clint again here. I think I'll go BYU under. Not just because of Jake Retzlaff, but I do think that's a big deal. But I probably would have had them 8-4 with him. So 2 losses is not crazy to say. But their defense was so opportunistic last year. I don't think they can repeat that.
And of those 3, that's easily the one I feel the worst about.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be salty. They're going to be big. They're going to be tough like they always are. So I'm not going to be surprised if that one's wrong. But I'm with you. I also think the ball bounced their way a couple of times last year. And especially adding without Retzlaff, I don't know if that's going to happen this year. I think they'll be solid, but I think the top end is going of the Big 12 is going to be a lot tougher for them to deal with this year.
Kansas 7.
That's I'm gonna break my rule. I'm gonna push that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going back to the delivery room. Push.
I hate that.
I'll take the over.
I hate that you said that.
I'll take the over on Kansas. I took a lot of unders early. I feel like I'm going to take a lot of overs here late.
I have to take a lot of overs, probably.
Utah, 7.5.
I want to do under on that one, but probably over.
I'm trying to remember who they have in the non-conference. I could look this up.
You could, but that's not good radio.
I think I'm going to lean under.
UCLA, Cal Poly, Wyoming. Looks like UCLA, Wyoming, both on the road.
Yeah, I think I'm going to... Man, I think I'm going to take the under. Maybe just I want them to be...
Yeah.
And, man, Vegas, it just loves them some Utah, and people picking the Big 12 love them some Utah, but that happened last year. I'm not a believer of Devin Dampier. I am a believer of their offensive line, though.
You actively talking yourself
under. I'm going to stick with it. Under.
I'm going to go over on Utah. Iowa State, Baylor, both 7.5s.
Iowa State. Say it one more time.
Iowa State, Baylor.
Okay.
7.5.
Iowa. Both of you are very convincing in your videos of the Red Raider Recon, and you talked defense in part because of Sherwood, and I'm going to take the over because of your assessment of Iowa State's defenses. Baylor, I'll go under.
Double over.
I'm going to go over on Baylor, and I'm going to go under on Iowa State. I think they might be a 7-5 team. I like everything about them. But I think they can lose to Iowa.
It's the Matt Campbell trend to have a really good year and then take a step back.
Yeah.
Although they haven't gotten a lot of love.
No.
And usually they get love the next year, and then Campbell's like, man, we didn't mean it.
The final three, Texas Tech, Kansas State, and Arizona State, all at 8.5. 8.5. We'll go Arizona State first, 8.5.
Yeah, they have a lot of because of a lot of returners over Texas Tech as well, and
Kansas State.
Yeah, I just don't know how I feel about Kansas State because I've literally not thought about Kansas State at all.
Kansas State is the least sexy thing that you can imagine.
Clint is so good at these. I'll go. I don't know if I mean it, but I'm gonna go under on Kansas State just because I
putting real money on these, Josh. You can just say whatever you want.
I know. I'll go under.
Okay.
I can't not think of anything for Kansas State.
Oh, we should have done like children's cards and like had Oreos or something to bet.
Yeah, we could do Monopoly money or something.
I'll bet 10 ham and cheese crackers. I will take over on Texas Tech.
Okay.
Over on Arizona State. I'm going back and forth on Kansas State because I
talk yourself into it.
No. If I'm going to talk myself one way, it's going to be out of it.
That's what I mean.
9 or 8 wins. I'm just not confident in Kansas State's offense. Under. Give me under.
Same. Sweet. Under Kansas State. Somebody's going to pull that clip on Iowa State. I think they'll probably go over, but
I've already
saved
saved
it.
Being
fun.
Yeah.
I picked them to win the Big 12 last year when nobody else thought they would do anything, and they played for it.
I was told I was incorrect for being high on Iowa State last year.
We were both early.
Although I didn't pick them to win it. You were a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Heyo.
Thank you. Big 12 champion?
Texas Tech.
Who they beat?
Oh, that was a better question. Iowa State.
Original pick was Tech over Arizona State, and I'm sticking with it.
I'll just go full Utah and say Texas Tech beats Utah. But I think Baylor has a great shot.
I do as well.
All right, we'll hit the chat line and do the top 10 running backs according to ESPN in the NFL next year 100.7 The Score is the bottom line.
Bringing you the truth, or something like the truth. This is the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back, 100.7 The Score. It's the bottom line. Let's see. Going to the chat line. Did Josh pick ISU's under and then predict Texas Tech to beat them in the championship game?
Oh, yeah, I did.
No. You went over, I went under.
Yeah, you said we convinced you by talking
Oh,
about
right,
the
that's
defense.
true.
You
Yeah.
like the defense.
Okay. Yeah.
And they also have a good offense. I think their wide receivers will be fine. They lost a lot in the draft. They have 2 really good running backs back, at least.
They have one of the top running back rooms in the Big 12. I'm not saying it's number 1, but
Their offensive line is generally always bad, but nobody ever talks about it. So
This might be a good opportunity.
yeah.
Speaking of Red River Recon, not that you'll be hitting it this summer, but you'll be going through opponents in season.
Yes, also. Yeah, it's not going to go away. It'll be through the bowl game, and then potentially
through the recruiting
transfer
circle.
portal.
It'll never die.
And then we'll start again for the next offseason.
That just made it grim.
we might give it I don't know, a week off or something. There,
No days
we
off.
Sleep in May.
You'll rest when you're dead.
So yeah, I think Josh was accurate there. Bravo, Clint.
Thank you.
Dak does a press conference on his sleep number bed, fighting back the tears. He's my wide receiver, man. Here's a question. After this tournament and seeing Anderson work mostly point guard, are you feeling good about him being the primary ball handler? Seemed to be really effective as a distributor, but still scored.
I feel good. Yeah, I mean, I think you're still going to have to see it, especially when you get to some of your better opponents. Now, the good thing about your non-conference is you're going to get to see that early before you get to Big 12 play. And you know, I'll be surprised if it's still not a percentage working in some of the other guys that are capable. I don't know who is the standout number 2, if it is like a Donovan Atwell or you know, maybe some talk of, yeah, so-and-so is going to bring it up, but this set you might run it through Lawan Watts, and it's like the point forward type approach, like what you're doing with Darian Williams. And I don't think it'll be this to the same effect when he was at his best. But as far as just Christain Anderson, can he run the show? Can he run the offense? Yes, I feel confident about it, and I think he's a guy that I get the worry of, like, well, you know, last year he was best when he was off the ball, and when he was, you know, benefiting from Elijah Hawkins and stuff like that, but they weren't bringing him in, and this is what, you know, McCasson hasn't just been pitching him as a spot up shooter, so it's just another year older, another year of development. You're going to need a guy like that can also score. So if he's like hey, they're doubling up Toppin, we need a shot here under 10 seconds, and he turns into that, usually that's better if he's also your primary ball handler. So I'm confident, and I am in on if that is the case.
Yes.
The dream, right? You almost got there to what I was going to say. The dream is that he's Keenan Evans.
Keenan Evans 2.0.
Right. Except with a potentially better roster around him.
I think you're going to say a better toe.
And a healthier toe, yes, hopefully. Hopefully at the end, yes. All right. 10 best running backs in the not the Big 12, in the NFL.
Nice.
Via ESPN. The honorable mentions include Bucky Irving from Tampa Bay, Aaron Jones from Minnesota.
Okay.
Shout out to you, Tep.
How about it?
A-Chain from Miami. Breece Hall, the New York Jets. And James Conner with the Arizona Cardinals. Those are the honorable mentions. Stop me if you feel uncertain about the direction of things. We'll start at 10. Alvin Kamara.
Whoa, I'm just kidding.
He was unranked last year. He's 29. The best he's ever been in this poll is 7th.
I feel like I hear less and less about him every year. He's only getting older. There's nothing about the Saints instills confidence in me that they're going to be better, to set him up better, any of that.
Yeah, he's not going to have help from like a good quarterback this year.
I was about to say they need to run the ball. Joe Mixon, 9th.
Kind of because he's done well. I don't need to talk about every one of them, but I already don't agree with probably the list, just because even though he has done well, he's also getting older. Also,
28.
Yeah.
I'd still have him in the top 10. I think he affects the games.
I don't have any qualms yet.
Yeah, no qualms. James Cook, 8th.
Do like him.
Jonathan Taylor, 7th.
I completely forgot about him.
He's 5th last year, so he's dropped 2 spots. Josh Jacobs, 6th. Christian McCaffrey, 5th.
I do think Josh Jacobs is high.
I have a hot take on McCaffrey that's maybe not that hot of a take, that he won't be in this list in a couple years.
He was 1 last year. 3, I guess the year before. This is highest ranking 3. Last year's ranking 1. That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, the first sentence is durability, the one thing holding him back.
He just can't stay on the field.
Yeah.
It's like it's not like a recurring injury. It's like something new in or around the same extremity every single time. So I think he will rapidly, which happens. I think he will rapidly be leaving the league soon.
And Shanahan has
or go until the wheels truly go off, but not be that effective.
Right.
Shanahan has shown that he has no obstacles just throwing in running backs as well. Like, he did it by committee before, so as he starts to slow down, he's just not going to be the primary back.
Bijan Robinson, 4th, 23. I think I might have him higher. We'll see who else is here, though. Jahmyr Gibbs, 3rd. Derrick Henry, 2.
And that leaves... Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley, number 1.
Rob motions to me.
Well, you said
yeah, no, I didn't. I was just setting you up to say
you knew it.
I really don't have a problem with that top 10 at all.
Maybe Bijan by the end of the year, but obviously Derrick Henry's still at a high level. Saquon's still at a high level. Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson are next, I would say, as the premier backs. 2 names on here that I thought were left off.
Were they in the honorable mentions?
They were not.
Oh.
Let me make sure. One of them is in the also receiving votes category. That would be David Montgomery. I think he's at least a top 15 back in the Big 12, in the NFL. Well, he was when he was in the Big 12 as well. He was the best running back in the Big 12. Iowa State. The other one, who I guess missed time last year, is why he's not on here, would be Isaiah Pacheco. I think when healthy.
I was surprised he wasn't in the honorable mention range.
Yeah, I wouldn't have him top 10.
Yeah.
Is he receiving votes?
Not receiving votes either.
Wow.
Receiving votes was Kyron Williams, David Montgomery, Brian Robinson Jr., who probably is up in my honorable mentions. Chuba Hubbard, Big 12. DeAndre Swift and Kenneth Walker, Big 10. Josh, pop quiz. Where did Kenneth Walker go to college?
Not a clue.
Was he Big 10 then?
Yeah.
Is he a Michigan State guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chuba Hubbard. Cole's got it.
It's not going to go well for me. Go ahead, Clint.
That would be OSU.
Oklahoma State. That's right. James Conner.
Pittsburgh.
Aaron Jones.
I knew you were setting up for one.
UTEP. Bucky Irving. Played in Lubbock.
Oregon.
Alvin Kamara.
Oh, crap.
Tennessee.
There we go.
Bringing you the truth, or something like the truth. This is the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back. It's hour number 2. Jeff McGuire replaces Josh Foppel in the second seat.
Boy, did you guys get the wrong end of the deal.
Let's see. I'm still Rob Bro. Let's go to the chat line. This texter says, look, I'm all in on Joey McGuire. In recent years, however, we choked at Wyoming, choked against Baylor for whatever reason, twice. After being alone at the top of the Big 12, we have pride that we beat both teams in the Big 12 championships. However, despite Utah catching a downtrodden pack in recent years, they did rather dominate that league. Delirious or not, delusional or not, I would say. Utah believes they have something to prove. Kansas State may lose their overseas opener, making them another team with something to prove later in the season. Colorado has something to prove. Tech talent can be leaps and bounds above, but these are like a whole conference of underdogs taking a shot at their rival with all the talk. Tech has a steep hill to climb.
Can I push back just on one thing?
Yeah, I was going to push back on a lot of it, but go ahead.
Well, the first thing, Utah did not dominate the Pac-12. They were really good in the Pac-12. But I would push way back on dominates.
They won it their last 2 seasons.
Correct.
But at least one of those, everyone was not good, and they kind of like backed into it.
Yeah. But they were really good. USC. They were really good in the Pac-12.
Very good in the
I'm
Pac-12.
not trying to say that they didn't have success, because they clearly did.
They were the top team when the Pac-12 died.
But sure, yeah, and dominates just.
I mean, the
seems
Pac-12
strong.
still exists, guys.
Well, yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I make jokes, okay? That's what I do here. They're not funny, but I try.
Wouldn't you both say, though, that Tech has a lot to prove this year?
Yes. More than any other team.
And they don't they have the same pressure? Now, I guess the Texter's mentality, and it could be true, that Texas Tech has more national hype. But if you look at Vegas, people nationally are still picking Utah and Kansas State and other teams ahead of Texas Tech. I think locally we have a lot of hype. And I don't know how the 2026 class, even as well as your recruiting right now, helps this season. This would just be the transfer class. But I think you have just as much to prove, especially in the non-con, just against yourself, with a pretty porous non-con coming in. You don't play Baylor this season. You don't play TCU this season. I think you have a ton to prove against Kansas State because you hadn't beaten them in a decade. That should be a personal vengeance for you.
Yes. Not like me specifically. Sorry.
Utah, well, yeah, us. Utah specifically, I mean, I guess to their own doing, have set themselves up as kind of at least on Twitter, as a villain.
Also, it was the 2 seasons before the last one, because the last one was Washington and Oregon's year.
Yeah,
where Washington and Oregon were really good that year.
Yeah, I would say Oregon last 5 to 10 years was the best team in the Pac-12 long term. Utah won 2 of the last 3, you're saying. And then USC they finished on maybe their worst decade in the history of USC football. At least in modern history.
I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah. So interesting. I'm also all in on Joey McGuire, and I think people will take the recruiting of this year of the kids that aren't even going to be on campus until next season and lump that into expectations for this year. I mean, I still think you're in a 3-year window to really explode in the Big 12. But I think you should at least be able to, maybe not kick the door down, but you're loosening the bolts on a Big 12 championship this year.
You better be.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to the comment that you said that Tech has a lot to prove this year, I would make the argument Tech has the most to prove this year. And this year specifically, with the amount of money that you've put into NIL and on the transfer portal and bringing guys in, that it's already annoying me. And I don't get annoyed by this kind of thing this fast, but I'm sure I'm not the only one. You just bought that championship kind of conversation when it comes to regarding Texas Tech. It's not. If you were to ask me today, do I think Joey McGuire can recruit? I do think he can recruit. Your talent got better before NIL started. Okay. If you were to ask me, do I think he can coach? Yes, I do think he can coach. Do I think he is still a learning coach? Yes, but I would hope every coach out there is still a learning coach to some degree. Do I think Joey McGuire is a better coach now than he was 3 years ago? Yes. So all of those things are moving forward. I'm going to be interested to see how your new offensive and defensive coordinators work with Joey McGuire and the staff and everything else like everybody else is. But you have put all of your chips in the middle of the table and said, these are my cards, come after me. I don't know anybody else in the Big 12 that has done that. I don't know anybody else in the Big 12 that has thought about doing this. So, yeah, it's time to put your big boy pants on and go win the stinking Big 12.
And I think back to the spirit of the text, the original text that we got that started this, it might be that Texas Tech is the biggest target on their back.
Yeah, because, look how much they spent. We can go beat them with who we've had here.
Yeah. Oh, here he clarifies. Utah dominated in their own minds, yes.
Well, everybody dominates in their own mind.
Well, no, I don't know. I wonder how much Utah, inside the program, are just like, man, I wish our fans would shut up. I wonder. Or if they're like, yeah, go get them. Go get them, Pig Bus 43.
I need Utes 100.7. And we need to call their hosts on the air right now and ask them that question.
Or we get Whittingham maybe at the Big 12 Media Days.
Yeah, but maybe Whittingham behind closed doors was like, yeah, we should be in the Big 10. The Big 12 sucks. I hate it.
Maybe so.
That's an acceptable response.
Maybe he's just throwing the fire too. I saw a tweet that said it was either for Chase Campbell's prediction, the friendship 4-star wide receiver, or the kid from Georgia, the number 1 recruit in 2027 that they were predicted to commit to Texas Tech. One of the comments was, man, I wish Texas Tech and their Big 10 money would get out of here. It's like, that's new. It feels nice, I guess. It's not my money, but kind of feels nice to be rooting for the one with all the advantages currently, because you felt disadvantaged for so long.
You were fighting an uphill battle in the length of time that you've been in the Big 12. Okay, so we're going back to 96 here. You have fought the Nebraska Cornhuskers. You have fought the Texas Longhorns, the Oklahoma Sooners. You have fought the Texas A&M Aggies, and you have fought. I'm missing somebody.
Well, Oklahoma State.
They
got their money.
They got their some of their. Yeah, you have fought that uphill recruiting battle up until last year with regards to money being able to be spent. And now you're in the big boys club. It's time to start acting like one and go win the whole stinking thing.
Amen. Big 12 Media Days, by the way, starts tomorrow. This program will be live with Choice and Jamie tomorrow. Live from the Big 12 Media Days. We'll have interviews from at least, 10 to 6 at Big 12 Media Days. So be on the lookout for that. It's 100.7 The Score. The bottom line. rolls on.
Getting to the point, but taking the scenic route to get there. This is the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back. 100.7 The Score. It is the end of the Bottom Line here in about an hour and 45 minutes. Oh, man. The Bottom Line. It's 1:15. We talked about it a little bit in the first hour, but I want to get back into it here. Jeff, the FIBA World Cup, was that on your radar much more than just, Christain Anderson played this morning?
The basketball one.
Yeah, basketball.
Because the soccer one shocked the heck up out of me when I saw that the championship happened with USA and Mexico over the weekend.
Well,
I had no idea that was going on.
That's not FIBA for one, or a World Cup.
Had no idea that was going on.
I think that's
until the championship game happened.
CONCACAF?
What? I don't know.
CONCACAF?
You could tell me it's the Coca-Cola cup. I don't care. I didn't know that happened until I saw the final score.
Yeah, was that the finals? Mexico 2-1?
I think so, yes. So there's that.
Yep.
For the under-19, it was not on my radar before Grant McCasland was coaching and Christain Anderson was playing. It was only on my radar for Team USA and Team Germany because of Christain Anderson.
Same.
I am very thankful that both of them made it to the championship game and that Team USA won. Nothing against Christain Anderson winning a gold medal, but if I have to choose between me and Germany, I am picking the United States 10 times out of 10.
Pretty much the exact same thing that I wanted to happen happened. Christain played well.
Yes.
Was probably the best player on Germany. Maybe Hans Steinbach. Hans Steinbach was second best or best. Christain made all-tournament team.
Yes, he did.
He got his picture on some national publications. National writers, basketball writers were talking about Christain Anderson and NBA prospectus. So how important do you think it was just for Texas Tech to have Grant McCasland and Christain Anderson on the international stage?
Okay.
Because they do mention Texas Tech in all the broadcasts.
They do.
Maybe not for Grant McCasland, but for Christain Anderson, certainly.
There is an element of this that I do not have the world experience to be able to answer. So I'm going to do the best I can. Is it valuable? Yes. Is it as valuable as the Womble? Probably not. Is it as valuable as your NIL collective? Absolutely not. Is it as valuable as really cool uniforms? Probably more so, but probably about on par with. Is this one of those things I would rather have than not have? Yes. Is it a thing that I think could prevent you from being in the minds and homes of anybody out there? No.
So, I mean, in my opinion, I don't know how much, I wouldn't call it tampering, but recruiting is going on with Grant McCasland.
I'm sure there's some.
Down there. If I was a recruiter, let's say in the FIBA World Cup world, I would have been talking to a few of those guys and saying, hey, you had a really good game.
Yeah, Grant McCasland, Texas Tech University. How's it going?
Have you signed with Washington yet? Have you signed with?
Well, I that's in the neighborhood of tampering.
No, he wasn't doing that.
I would be hopeful.
I said that's what I would do.
Nod that wasn't happening.
No, that's what I would do is what I was saying.
Sure, I'm sure there's relationships that got built, and the experience that those two guys got to take with it is invaluable for what they're doing. And Grant McCasland saw things from other coaches and saw things in this tournament that will make him a better coach. I already think he was a pretty good one. So anything he can do to improve his stock in that regard. Do I think it makes Christain Anderson more expensive next year? Yes. Do I think he's going to be more expensive because of Big 12 play anyway? Yes. So there's, I mean, like I said, I put it in the same kind of, it's nice to have. I'd rather have it than not. I don't know that it's going to prevent you from getting anything you want.
Based on what Christain Anderson did in the last 2 weeks, based on how people are talking about him nationally, And based on what I think he can be in Big 12 play, I don't think he'll be a Red Raider in 2027. And I think he might get drafted above JT Toppin. I think you have that kind of expectation right now for Christain Anderson.
We could. And if that's the case, go forth and conquer, young man, to go light the NBA on fire. Or if he decides to go play in Europe and go light the European League on fire. I have no qualms about any of that. Though I am worried about the red and black at this point.
I think it was good for Texas Tech, obviously, the experience Christain Anderson gets, because every defense, whether it was Serbia or Slovenia or Australia, treated Christain Anderson like a premier point guard, and we're doubling off, especially Team USA was doubling off. That is extreme experience and very valuable, because I think Christain Anderson will be your primary ball handler for Texas Tech.
That experience may help your team more than anything else we've talked about, of him running the point and being the point guard for that, for Germany, and getting to experience high-level defense and knowing what to do. Because he wasn't your primary point. He's not a point guard. He's been a shooting guard. I wonder how that's going to play going forward, with if he is going to be your point guard, which it kind of looks like he maybe is going to be, how that affects his scoring, because we don't want that to go away.
He did both the last couple weeks.
He did. But I think if he was just the scoring threat and getting that, his numbers could be a lot higher offensively speaking, but you need a point guard and don't have one yet.
I'm very excited about him and JT Toppin running some pick and roll. I would just spam it if it was a video game and I had those two. But he had the second most assists on average in the whole FIBA World Cup. Him and Debansa, probably the best two players. Debansa from BYU won tournament player of the tournament week thing, FIBA World Cup. Got his picture made with Dirk. I would assume Dirk went over and talked to Team Germany as well.
Yeah,
that's my assumption.
That would be a pretty good assumption.
But we have quotes of Dirk and Dennis Schroeder talking about how Christain Anderson is like the next guy for Team Germany in the Olympics.
Nice.
So he's on the radar. And that stuff speaks highly of him and Texas Tech as well. There have been years, I would say, where basketball season starts a little earlier than normal in Lubbock. Maybe like take 2014.
Oh, okay, so you're talking like, oh, hey, look, it's basketball season, right? As opposed to, and we're in the middle of the throes of football season. Yes.
Yeah, but I would assume Tech basketball can have a pretty quiet start. But they have Illinois early. They've got Duke before Christmas.
I am going to say this as nicely as I possibly can.
I hope.
If we are saying Grant McCaslin's name before December, before they play, unless like game days, actual game days are different. I want to make this, but like if we're talking Grant McCaslin basketball before January 1,
I don't know. They might force you to, Jeff. They might force you.
They might,
because if they're top 10 and beating Illinois in November. I think there's a space for both of them.
If you're not,
or seeing Duke,
I'm just if we're not talking full on Big 12 championship run, if we're not talking college football playoff, if we're not talking New Year's 6 bowl game, I don't want to have that football season.
I think there's space for both, even with that happening.
There is, but. And you weren't here for 08. You were here for 08, right?
In Lubbock, yeah.
Yeah. That was different, man. Don't get me wrong. We like basketball here. We are a football school with a basketball habit, okay? And it is a strong habit. But 08 was different. And you've got that kind of team this year, allegedly. This town shut down Saturday nights during 2008.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if you'll have. Let's just go crazy here, right? Top 10.
You want to get nuts?
Top 10 football
Let's
team.
Let's get nuts.
Top 10 football team in December, plus a top 10 basketball team in December. Is it 80-20 conversation? Do you even get 20?
What if you beat Purdue in your Thanksgiving week classic, especially if they're the top-ranked team and they're rolling in undefeated? There's no space to talk about that.
Yeah,
in 08, there wouldn't.
You could be 60-40 with basketball just based on some preseason stuff and the non-con you have.
I just remember how big 08 was, man.
Sure.
And how you couldn't have told me the Cowboys were playing in 08. Patrick Mahomes may be having to take a backseat on Sundays because we're still talking Tech football after Saturday wins.
I hope that's the case and that we're forced to wait. All right, more after this. We'll have a question today on the other side. It's the bottom line, 100.7 The Score.
Bringing you the truth, or something like the truth. This is the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back to 100.7 The Score. It's the bottom line. Got an hour and a half to go here before we turn it over to WNSF's Tech Talk with Clint Scott.
So you're saying it's Bon Jovi time?
Oh.
We're halfway there.
We're halfway there. That's right. Let's do a question of the day here, Clint.
Time now for Jamie's question of the day on 100.7 The Score. Brought to you by someone not named Jamie and presented by Connecticut of West Texas. Life's hard. Your water shouldn't be.
All right, gentlemen, and our fine listening audience. All I want is for you to give me the 3 Big 12 coaches for the upcoming football season that are indeed, by any definition, well, your definition, the 3 coaches under the most pressure in 2025.
Okay. Pressure. There's different kinds of pressure. Pressure to win or be fired. I would say most pressure is Brent Brennan. Most pressure to turn it around, Mike Gundy. And most pressure to win, period, high-level winning, I would say Joey McGuire.
Man, we're going to be boring.
That's how I would answer that. Because there's 3 different types of pressure. So I would say, of those, I would say Joey, because of the money poured into the program. Brent Brennan, because he stinks, and they probably should have hired him last year. Shouldn't have hired him, really. And then Gundy, just based on, hey, we've renegotiated a contract already. I've already given some money back. We were 0-9. We got to turn it around.
See, I've got it in a different order, but the same 3. Most absolute pressure would be Gundy. I don't know if he has another beginning of the season like they had last year, in Big 12 play specifically, how he survives. And I know he's an alum, and I know he's had a ton of success there, and I know they've restructured his contract, and I know they haven't been happy with him for a while, and I know that this has gone back and forth 100 times in the last 5 years. The powers that be are no longer looking at I'm a man, I'm 40. They are looking at a guy who's been a pain in the neck to deal with. And if they are looking for a reason to remove him from the festivities and try to get in on we're going to go find a coach early and follow the AKA Texas Tech plan, I would not be shocked if that's the way they go. And a big donor writes a check to make that problem go away and offer him some position in the university, go forth and conquer. You're going to work alongside the athletic department, help raise this money. You're a valued alum, and we don't want you to ever go away, but you can't coach here anymore kind of concept. I would have Joey at 2 because the amount of money you've spent on NIL. But that's the 1, 2, 3, and for those reasons.
Yeah, we're going to be triple boring here, but I also will redo the order.
You redo the order?
I think Brent Brennan is under the most pressure just because one is like going to cost you your job. Gundy is in that discussion as well, but also he has a little bit of history where at least I don't think anyone in Arizona likes Brent Brennan. I don't think any of the fans like him. There was like some portions when you hire a new coach, it's like, okay, well, yeah, you guys are out on him because you've been out on him the whole time. Like, oh, yeah, of course you guys are out on Matt Wells. You guys are out on Matt Wells as soon as he got here. I think the way that Jed Fish left that program, no one was going to like the available hires, for the most part, because Arizona just was not in a spot to even steal like a young and up-and-comer, and even then they didn't even get close to it. And so I think he has the most pressure. I think Gundy... Now I think I'm going to... Joey second. Joey second, and then I'll go Gundy 3. But just to throw in another one in there, I think you could put Scott Satterfield easily in this conversation because he's in year 3, and if... I'm not saying that they're expecting to win... 8-9 games or anything, but if they don't make a bowl game, I think he's gone. They have again, I don't know what the voices are like over in Cincinnati, but they are so far away from the Fickle years. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where they were in the playoff, in a 4-team playoff, and now just trying to not just find relevance in the Big 12, but just not be vanilla, like stand out in a way. And yes, win games, but they are just forgotten about in the conference, and it's crazy to me, especially with how much traction as a non-Power 5 school they worked to gain, and it's just gone.
If I were to add a fourth coach, oddly enough, I would put Deion Sanders under some pressure, because not that they're going to fire him necessarily, like that's it, but can he do it without his son? Can he do it without the Heisman Trophy winning receiver / defensive back?
I think there's probably some fan pressure in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, not to the tune, and national pressure to know if what kind. I think he can coach. Let's make this clear. I am not calling for his head in any way, but where I think that conversation is happening with people that are near the program of, can we do it without those guys?
I think I'd probably put Whittingham above him.
Well, Whittingham's about to retire.
But I still think that there's the pressure to do well
certainly
this year.
Fan-wise, yeah.
And even with that around the corner, if they, and I know that they had a quarterback injury, but still, the defense was still so good last year to have the season that they did. If they sniff anywhere in that, and then again you have guys like Pig Bus, Utah, ready to dominate the Big 12 like we should have in year 1. They have a 6-6 season or something like that, and they're not even close to a Big 12 championship game. I could very much sing the like, hey, why don't we retire this year?
Yeah,
let's have this be the last.
It's
year.
like the Tim Tebow backup quarterback thing, because if the defense is good again, well, just give the program to the guy you're going to give it to, because he's already the coach in waiting, the defensive coordinator. To go back to Deion, I would agree. National pressure, fan pressure. I think administratively, he makes them so much money.
He does.
I don't think they care if they win or not, because they're on TV and they're making money. And I don't know that Colorado cares about wins and losses.
If they're losing. Because the conversation does change.
People still watch. People still show up.
They're going to get money from the Big 12 anyway.
It's Deion, baby.
It is Deion. And people will watch the train wreck.
Yep.
That's why the Cowboys get viewers.
I've got one more name.
Dallas Cowboy,
right.
Not the different Cowboy.
I've got one more name. Is there pressure on Scott Frost to see some immediate success, because he had success when he left and now he's back? And think there's any pressure in that respect?
Not this year.
Yes, I think there's pressure. I don't think like, hey, if it didn't go well, they're going to be like, give up on it. Yeah. Everyone walk away. No more fan support.
Of the new hires, I think he probably has the most pressure to.
Yes. What about Baylor? I
think there's a certain level of
I think
that when you talk about him and Kleiman that are all on the same level, maybe Sonny Dykes to a certain degree.
Yeah. I think the stove is off, but it's an electric stove. It has not cooled off yet. They're not adding any more heat, but you could quickly turn that thing back on and get heat going.
I mean, 365 days ago, both Sonny and Aranda probably on this list.
Yeah. I think the electric stove is off. but everybody that has ever had one knows it ain't cold yet.
Yeah.
And if you want to get boiling water going again, all you got to do is just turn that thing back up, and you're boiling water pretty quick.
Well, Aranda was so bad to start last year, they were trying to fire him. And then he won 6 Big 12 games.
Then he beat Texas Tech.
Yeah, and won the next 5. So I'd probably put Aranda 6th or 7th on the list, right there with all the other guys we mentioned. And then Sonny Dykes is interesting too because you're every year you're further away from that playoff appearance.
Mm-hmm. Can I throw you another random one? One Lance Leipold is suddenly under pressure.
Is there anybody we didn't mention?
Yeah. I
put him in the top half of the league. And I only say that because I didn't think that would be the case. But everyone was and they should have been so angry with how last year went. Yeah. And now you have a new stadium over there that they're building, trying to continue this new era, trying to do better recruiting and all of this. If they went 5-7 again, I'd be interested to see what those. Hopefully not. I'd be interested to see what those conversations are like.
What's the new standard at Kansas? Is my question.
This has been the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score. Go to 100-7thescore.com for more from the Double T Sports Network.